Good morning, dear students. Laxman, Ayush, Sri Vaishnavi, Laxman, Nidhu. Uh, Good morning to each one of you. Today, let us revise the lesson A Tiger in the Zoo very quickly. Okay, and then we shall wind up. So, dear students, A Tiger in the Zoo by Leslie Norris. So, let's first go through the theme of the poem, and after that, we shall go by line. Okay, so let's begin. uh, the poem contrasts a tiger in the zoo with the tiger in his natural habitat. Okay, so in this poem you shall find a comparison of the different of a tiger in its natural habitat and a tiger in the zoo. Okay, so the poet has made comparison in every alternate paragraph, or you can say every succeeding stanza, a comparison between what happens to a tiger when he is in the zoo and what happens when he is in his natural habitat. Natural habitat means in the jungle, in the forest where he is supposed to live. The poetess describes how the basic freedom of movement and free will of a tiger is curtailed when he is imprisoned behind the confined space of a zoo. Okay, so the poet describes us the basic freedom of movement. Okay, basic freedom of movement is there when a tiger is roaming in its natural habitat, and free will, okay, of a tiger. How the natural basic freedom of movement and free will means, free will is the liberty, is the freedom that every human being or every animal is supposed to have. Okay, so how is the freedom of movement and the free will curtailed means how are they restricted when a tiger is put inside the zoo, is something what we shall come to know in this poem. Okay, so these two value points, so please remember. First of all, the poet contrasts here in this poem a tiger in the zoo with a tiger in his natural habitat, number one. And number two, the poet describes how the basic freedom of movement and the free will of a tiger is curtailed when he is imprisoned behind the confined space of a zoo. Okay, uh, the tiger in the poem is a metaphor for all the caged animals who are stripped of their natural habitat and thereby restricting them to the miseries of the caged world. Okay, so the tiger in the poem is the metaphor for all the caged animals. Okay, who are deprived of their natural habitat, okay, thereby restricting their basic freedom of movement and free will. Okay, they languish for the entire duration of their lifespan behind the caged cell of the zoo. Okay, because they cannot come out of the zoo, that is why they languish, they feel sad, they regret for the entire duration of their lifespan, which is not good, because it is not, we have no right to curtail the basic freedom of movement of animals. Okay, and of course human beings as well. So human beings normally doesn't happen unless and until he commits a very serious crime. He is not imprisoned. Only when a human being is imprisoned or put behind the bars, in that case his basic freedom of movement and free will is restricted. Okay, otherwise it doesn't normally happen with human beings, but it happens with animals very often, especially in the zoo. Okay, especially in the zoo. So when they are put inside the zoo, what happens? Their basic freedom of movement and their free will is restricted or curtailed, and they languish for the entire duration of their lifespan behind the caged cell of the zoo. Okay, so good morning, Neeraj, Omkar, Swati, Arpita. Good morning to all of you. Please stay connected. I'm going to explain you this poem. Now I'm explaining you the theme of this poem. Okay, the poem moves from the zoo to the jungle and back again to the zoo. Okay, uh, because there's a comparison between between a tiger in the zoo and the tiger in his natural habitat. That is why the poem moves from the zoo to the jungle and back again to the zoo. By comparison, the poem shows the merits of roaming in his natural habitat vis-a-vis the demerits of caged life. Okay, the poet also shows that the what happens when a tiger is left in his natural habitat, advantages of the natural habitat for a tiger, as well as or vis-a-vis or versus the disadvantages of a caged life for a tiger. Okay, so he has drawn comparison between these two versions of tiger, one in his natural habitat, another tiger inside the caged zoo. Thus, the poem conveys the message that wild animals appear to be beautiful in their natural habitat, just like a child looks beautiful on the lap of his mother. Okay. So, what is the message that the poet conveys? The poem conveys. The poem conveys the message that wild animals appear to be beautiful in their natural habitat, just like a child looks beautiful on the lap of his mother. So we should not deprive an animal from his natural habitat. We should always, we should always ensure that the animal gets its basic freedom of movement as well as free will in his natural habitat. We should not encourage any kind of caging of animal. Okay, be it a bird or be it a wild beast, we should not encourage, okay, people to cage the animal, because it is in this way their basic freedom is restricted, their basic free will is restricted, and they keep languishing for the entire duration of their lifespan behind the caged cell. Okay, that is why we should not encourage imprisonment of any bird or wild animal. Understood? In fact, we should condemn it, we should protest against such activities. Okay, we should not deprive them of their basic and rightful freedom by captivating them in the zoo cell. Okay, so dear students, now let's move on to line by line explanation. Here I'll open the thing for you. For example, here you can see, um, what is this? Just a minute. Okay, so dear students, now I'll show you. Here you will find the poem A Tiger in the Zoo, which is next to uh, the lesson Nelson Mandela, A Long Walk to Freedom. Okay, so as you can see here, the same introduction, this poem contrasts a tiger in the zoo with the tiger in its natural habitat. The poem moves from the zoo to the jungle and back again to the zoo. Okay, so let's find out. He stalks in his vivid stripes. Stalks means walk. Okay, he stalks in his vivid stripes. The few steps of his cage on pads of velvet quiet in his quiet rage. Okay, on pads of velvet quietly on his feet he is moving in his quiet rage, but while he is moving he is having suppressed anger. Rage means anger, quiet means here silent anger. He is moving on pads of or on his feet in suppressed anger. So you can see here pads means here feet, velvet means soft feet. Okay, because the inner the sole, you can say the toes and all are very soft. Therefore the tiger walks slowly, okay, on the soft feet, on his soft feet, in suppressed anger, in quiet anger. Rage means anger. Okay, so he should be lurking in shadow, sliding through the long grass near the water hole where plump deer pass. Dear students, you can see here, in the first stanza, we get the condition of the tiger inside the zoo. Okay, whereas in the next stanza, we get the likely situation in the natural habitat of a tiger. Okay, in the likely situation of what is the tiger supposed to do, what is a tiger supposed to do in his natural habitat is described here in this stanza. He should be lurking in shadow, sliding through the long grass, because you know that the tiger hides in the long grass, and yeah, and catches its prey. Okay, catches the other animals, hunts down other animals by hiding behind the long grass. So he should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass near the water hole where plump deer pass. Near the water hole, near the water hole where plump deer pass. Plump means healthy. Okay, so the tiger in his natural habitat um, goes for hunting. Okay, and in this situation, it is shown that the tiger is hiding somewhere through the long grass or behind the long grass near the water hole, and waiting for the deer to pass by, because if the deer pass by, the tiger will have very tasty food. Okay, so the tiger will hunt down or prey its favorite animal, that is the deer, and that is why the tiger is lying near the water hole behind the long grass. So as you can see here, sliding means moving, lurking means hiding. Okay, and water hole means a river where animals come to drink. Okay, a river um, where animals come to drink, this is water hole. Okay, so he should be moving in a shadow, sliding, moving. Sliding is given here, as you can see, moving. Okay, and he should be hiding in a shadow, sliding through long grass, because in the jungle there is long grass. They are called elephant grass. Okay, big, long grass. Okay, behind the long grass, the tiger hides himself. Okay, and waits for its prey to come. Okay, now let's move on to the next stanza. He should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge, baring his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. Okay, he should be snarling around houses. So, dear students, as you can see here snarling means showing the teeth. Jungle's edge means border of the forest. Okay, jungle's edge means border of the forest. Baring means showing, and white fangs means white teeth. Okay, white teeth. Okay, so here you can see again in this stanza, tiger in his natural habitat has been described. Okay, he should be snarling around houses. Okay, so he should be snarling around houses. Snarling around houses means he will be moving around the houses, showing his teeth at the jungle's edge, means at the in the border. Okay, forest border, baring his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. Okay, baring his white fangs means showing his white teeth. Okay, so showing his white teeth as well as his nails, showing his white teeth and nails, and terrorizing the village. Okay, so when he is in his natural habitat, he frightens the villagers, terrorize them. Terrorize means frighten someone. Okay, किसी को डर दिखाना, इसको terrorizing बोलते हैं. Okay, so terrorizing the village means किसी को डर दिखाना. तो कैसे डर दिखाता है टाइगर? टाइगर frightens people by showing his white teeth and his claws also. Okay, so in this stanza also the poet describes what a tiger normally does. Okay, or is supposed to do in his natural habitat. So in his natural habitat, he hides behind the long grass near the water hole and waits for the plump deer to pass. Okay, plump means healthy deer to pass. This is what he is supposed to do in his natural habitat. And again, he's saying, the poet is saying, he is also supposed to do something else. He is supposed to move around the border of the forest, showing his teeth, okay, and claws, and in the process of hanging around in the forest border, the tiger frightens the people of the village. Okay, so the poet in these two succeeding stanzas describes about what a tiger is supposed to do in his natural habitat. Okay, now in this stanza, you shall find the tiger inside the zoo, but he is locked in a concrete cell. He is locked in a concrete cell. Here, concrete cell refers to the zoo. Okay, the zoo, because zoo is made of concrete. Okay, and it is locked from everywhere. So he is locked in a concrete cell. His strength behind bars. Okay, he is hiding his strength behind bars because he cannot apply his strength, he cannot apply his power inside the cell, stalking the length of his cage. He is walking the entire length of his zoo. Okay, entire length of his cage, not zoo exactly, the cage. Okay, where he has been imprisoned, ignoring the visitors. And whenever the visitors are coming, he is ignoring the visitors. Why? Because he is having anguish, or you can say he is having regret in his mind for being inside the prison, inside the cage. That is why he is not cooperating with the visitors, not talking, or sorry, or not looking at the visitors, because he is feeling disappointed because he has been locked in a concrete cell. So but he is locked in a concrete cell. His strength behind bars, stalking the length of his cage. Stalking means walking the entire length of the cage where he has been kept, and in the process he is also ignoring the visitors because he is not in the best of his mind to have eye contact with the visitors. So he is ignoring the visitors as well. As you can see here, dear students, terrorizing means frightening, concrete means cemented, cell means cage, behind bars means caged or locked. Okay, and stalking means walking. Okay, so this stanza is the description of the tiger inside the zoo. Next, he hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. Okay, this is also inside the zoo. What he does at night, okay, he hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars. Okay, last voice at night of the patrolling cars, because cars keep on moving from one place to another. Okay, so there is patrolling cars means with security people. Okay, because security people keep on moving in the vehicles, so there it is called patrolling cars. So lastly at night, what happens, he can hear the sound of the patrolling cars, and after the patrolling cars pass by, he also stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. Okay, because he has no other way to pass his time at this moment. Okay, therefore he stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. So this poem is the very small poem, and as you can see, this poem describes about the condition of the tiger in inside the zoo. So the poet does not promote us. The poet the poet does not promote the imprisonment of tiger. Okay, the poet never promotes the imprisonment of the tiger. The poet in fact condemns such activities by human beings mm, to cage the animals and birds. Okay, here tiger is the metaphor for all the caged animals. Okay, so we should never cage even a bird, because if we cage, in that case their basic freedom of movement and free will is curtailed. Okay, therefore we should not promote any kind of any kind of sort of imprisonment of animal or bird. Okay, because this deprives them of their basic freedom of movement. Okay, so that is all about a tiger in the zoo. There are some NCERT questions given, dear students, as you can see here. Find the words that describe the movement and actions of the tiger in cage. These words describes the movement and actions of the tiger in the cage and in the wild. Okay, wild means in the natural, in this natural habitat, and this is in the cage. So cage stalks and lurking in the shadow is in the natural habitat. It is in the forest. In the wild means in the forest or jungle. Cage means inside the cage. Few steps of his cage. These are the words of movement inside the cage, and sliding through the long grasses in the wild. Quiet rage is in the cage, whereas snarling around houses is in the wild. Locked in a concrete wall is in the cage, bearing his white fangs, his claws in the natural habitat. Then stalking the length of his cage is in the cage, whereas terrorizing the village is in the wild. Okay. Next, find the words that describe the two places and arrange them in columns. Okay, two places. Like a few steps, concrete wall, locked, patrolling cars, village. Visitors, patrolling cars in the cage, and village is the in the wild. Okay, visitors in the cage, houses at the jungle's edge. Okay, likewise here two places, words in the two places. This is inside the zoo and this is in the natural habitat. Okay, now you can see here, and the notice the use of a word repeated in lines such as this: on pairs of velvet quiet, in his quiet rage. Okay, and then and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. What do you think is the effect of this repetition? The repetition is a poetic device which is used in order to give emphasis to the meaning of the words that are repeated. In the first sentence, velvet quiet refers to soft velvet pads or feet of the tiger. Okay, so velvet quiet means soft velvet pads or feet of the tiger when it moves on the surface of the zoo, whereas quiet rage refers to the suppressed anger of the tiger at not being able to exercise his natural freedom of movement. And then in the second sentence, brilliant eyes refer to the dazzling and beautiful eyes. Okay, dazzling and beautiful eyes. Brilliant eyes means dazzling and beautiful eyes, which are the creation of the Almighty God, yet confined in artificial zoo, which is contrasted with the natural brilliant stars, which are in their natural habitat. Okay, so dear students, hopefully you understood the explanation of the poem. Uh, so please do prepare, revise these question answers along with the textbook. Dear students, why I am stressing you about Ashirvad, there is no buffering from my end at the moment. I think the buffering is from your end only, not from my end. So, Niraj, are you able to see properly as well as hear me properly? You can text me quickly if you are able to hear me as well as sort of see the content which I am displaying. Uh, if you are able to see the content clearly as well as my voice clearly, please let me know. You just write yes so that I can understand you are able to hear me as well as see the content displayed on the screen. Okay, so Niraj, thank you so much for your confirmation. Okay, so what I was supposed to say, Niraj and others, um, dear students, always go through the text because, as you must be knowing, because I have already taken your revision test where I have given you the pattern, the new pattern of questions. Okay, so nowadays the in this exam in your upcoming board examination there will be more of multiple choice questions. Okay, therefore it is important for you to go through each and every line of the poem as well as of the prose lesson. So you start gradually and let me know if you don't understand any sentence or any paragraph of a particular lesson. So if you WhatsApp me, suppose my next lesson is on Tuesday. So Monday you can WhatsApp me, ki, sir, this lesson, this page number, and this paragraph. Please explain. Okay. I shall collect the material and I shall certainly explain you the next day when I come live. Okay, so that will be better. So so that I don't waste time in finding the text as well as the sort of material. Therefore, it is important for you to inform me at least one day ahead so that I can also come up with the text for explanation. Okay, so dear students, please inform me, and I request you to go through the text of the lessons. Okay, line by line, because from the prose lessons also there will be five questions, and from poetry also there will be five questions. I mean to say extract questions. So a total of 10 marks will be there from extract questions. Five questions from the one single extract, which will be followed by five 1 mark questions from prose as well as from poetry. Therefore, you go through each and every line of the prose lesson as well as the poetry lines so that you are able to score 10 out of 10 marks in questions from extract. And these are all MCQ, but if you do not go through the text, even in MCQ also you'll be confused and you shall end up losing the marks from the extract questions. So this is all about the extract questions, and then you shall have 8 mark very short questions, like it's a one word answer. Okay, so for that also you need to go through the text lessons like prose lessons and poetry lessons. From poetry you need to prepare the figures of speech or the literary devices, and who said this, and in all these questions. Okay, so whenever you are reading, suppose you are reading today a tiger in the zoo, so you should be able to find out the literary devices like simile, like metaphor, personification, alliteration, all these from stanzas. So because these things are also asked in the extract questions. Okay, so from now you start reading the text line by line and let me know at least one day ahead. If you do not understand any lesson, just mention the page number the lesson name and the paragraph number, okay, so that I can come up with the text and explain you on the next day in the live class. Okay, so Mm, Laxman, Niraj, now it's time to wind up. So please start reading the textbook. Okay, reading the textbook. Most of you have the textbook. So from the very first chapter, you start reading the textbook line by line. Okay, line by line you read, and then let me know if you have any doubt in any of the sentences or any of the paragraph. One day ahead, you WhatsApp me. Okay. Thank you, dear students. Let me wind up now. Okay, please do come again on Tuesday. Okay, at 11 o'clock. And my assignments, please submit those who haven't submitted. Okay, those who haven't submitted the assignment, please submit quickly.